What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Breathe in Air podcast, where everyday action meets extraordinary mindset. Today, we have a Central Michigan grad basketball player there, big-time hooper who had the opportunity to go overseas and play some ball there. He is now dabbling in his creative side, finding his new identity. You can find him on Instagram at Tree2Round. Shawn Roundtree Jr., welcome, brother.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you having me, man, for real.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like we should just go ahead and start, man. It's crazy times that we're living in right now. So much tension, so much divide, so many things that I, as a white male, personally cannot understand. And I think this is a perfect platform to us to, shed light on what is going on in America right now, that it really is one of these times where I don't even want to get on social media. I don't want to it's just so sickening to me in a lot of ways, and it just shakes your soul. So obviously, you're my brother. I love you, man. And I'm glad that you're on here. So let's spread some light. Where are you at with this in your headspace? What's going on in your community?
Man, I think, bro, it's a lot of hurt right now, and it's like waking up every morning right back to it. Like you said, even social media are triggers. It's very sensitive right now, man. And I think we are seeing the protests and the riots. We're seeing this is a backlash of so much that has been built up, of things that have continued to be occurring, but we feel like we haven't been heard. So these are the results of what has been going on, or what we've been trying to get out. You know what I mean? So it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
It is. And I mean, coming from my perspective, or coming from people's perspective who haven't been in these positions, who don't, get pulled over at a routine traffic stop and think man, I'm scared for my life in this situation. Where can we on our side help the Black community and anyone who is going through racial injustice during this time? How can we assist?
Well, I think this time, man, I think what makes this time different is I've never seen this much pressure, right? Black people are applying pressure to white people, saying, look, you have to say something. If you don't say something, then you're showing us whose side you're on, right? And I think this is a chance for white people to really listen. You know what I'm saying? Really take heed of what we're trying to get across. And I think there's a lot of people out there, man, that will say, well, why are they acting like this? Or where is this coming from? Or try to tell Black people how to react and how to feel. Well, which way would you like for us to do it? We've tried being peaceful. There was something wrong with that. Black athletes have tried wearing shirts, and there's a problem with that. So what do we do? You know what I'm saying? I think this is lashing out of what do we do? And I think as white people, man, I think the first step is acknowledging privilege, acknowledging that there are certain things in this country that are designed to oppress Black people and people of color. That's the first step. You have to acknowledge that, man. It's like one of those things where you see someone getting bullied and you're with another friend and you're like, you don't see that? You don't see that? It's I think we're tired of the blind eye. There has to be change, and we can't do it by ourselves. So yes, first acknowledge, man. And I think the second thing that white people can do is continue to go back into their communities and continue to fight that fight. You know what I mean? The people that who are racist, who do say messed up things behind closed doors, you have to correct them. You have to speak up and you have to say something, even if it means you might lose them as a friend or they don't want to hang out with you anymore. That's what it's going to take, bro.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said it starts at a core. It's a problem that's obviously been going on. And I think it's good to see so many people coming together at the same time. I hope that this can be an opportunity for people to come together. And obviously, it's a circumstance that is atrocious and something that we never want to see happen again. And not that it won't or that it will, but it's just one of these times where it's just you can just feel it in your soul. Like everyone can
Yeah.
just feel this it's just in the air, and it's just
Yeah.
heartbreaking, and I think everyone really is emotional about it, and rightfully so.
And you know what, man? And it's one of those things where I went to a protest yesterday and I saw so much diversity, bro.
Yeah.
And it made me feel so good. You know what I'm saying? To see so many people of many different races there, bro, supporting the same goal and the same cause. That's what it's gonna take. And Black people need that support. We need that help, bro. And I think another thing that angers Black people is people try to justify everything. Oh, well, all lives matter. Okay, well, if all lives matter, why do you see Black lives getting murdered in the street in cold blood? That's not okay. And we're not saying all lives don't matter. We
Right.
know that. But what is the problem at hand? You know what I'm saying? So I think we get tired of that, man. And I think you personally can attest to just, with your experience through sports. You know what I mean? Through basketball and football. And you've been so around so many Blacks, Mason. You know what I'm saying? Where I, I'm sure in the beginning it was probably uncomfortable, but you have so many brothers, bro. You know what I'm saying? Where it's the norm now,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking to this I say this all the time, but I was talking to this specifically about this situation with one of my friends, and it was the same thing, kind of what you said. If we could all act like we were, a football team or a basketball team. Like for me, I played football in college, obviously been on basketball teams, AAU teams, where I was one of the only white dudes on the team. And I was traveling all over the US with those guys, spending lots of hours together. So I got to see that side, and I understand that not everybody does. But for me, it's like, all right, you got a locker room of 100 people from all different. You got some people with money. You got some people that literally might have been homeless and they found ball. You got Black people. You got white people. You got all types of people, and they all come together for one goal. There's no all the indifferences and everything else is put aside. There's one goal, and that's to win and get better and to win. So that I wish that we could, as a country, kind of take that and say, like, look, we are all Americans on one team. Like, America's a melting pot. We're all humans. We're all Americans, and we all want the country to be as great as it possibly can be. And it's, I think if we just would take that mindset to it a little bit, it would make it's simple. It's really simple when it comes down to that. So, but man, tell us a little bit about you, what your upbringing was like. Was it always St. Louis? Because that's where we met. Was it always in St. Louis?
Man, no, I'm from Illinois, bro. Like my parents and majority of my family is from Chicago, but I grew up in Edwardsville, Illinois, right across the river. But I say this all the time. I'm probably one of the most. I've got to be like honorary St. Louisan. You know what I'm saying? I don't know any other Illinois kid that spends so much time in St. Louis or Missouri. So yeah, man, I grew up in Edwardsville, Illinois. I had three brothers, raised by my two parents who, fortunately are still together today. And yeah, man, that's my upbringing.
Yeah. I talked to Renell a little bit about this, and you all will hear from Renell, but what was it like? And I talk about this all the time, like how, looking back now, because I feel like a lot of times, you grow up, you're in high school, you're ignorant teenager or whatever, and you're being rebellious and stuff. But then as soon as you start growing up, you get a little older, you start looking back at your family, you start looking back at these things you're grateful for. And one thing always for me is having two parents that stayed together and that were there. And in your instance, you also had that blessing. So like, what did that, looking back now, how much of a difference did that make in your life growing up?
Man, that made such a huge impact on my life. getting to see my parents. I'm not saying that everything was pretty, but I saw them work things out. So in my aspect of relationships, when it comes to fighting to stay together, I'm a firm believer in that because that's what I seen. And having them together displayed one single unit. That's why, I'm a huge family person, and that's what makes me me. You know what I'm saying? To have both of them together and instill so many different morals among family. You know what I mean? So that keeps me grounded, and it's impacted me a lot.
Yeah. And I love your pops. He was always around, always at the games, always getting into it. Man, an energy guy, big time energy guy. I loved it. Big.
Totally.
What's your relationship like with your dad?
Oh man, that's one of my best friends, man. I've spent so much time with my dad, man. Whether it's driving to games, driving. There was a year where I went to school out in St. Louis, and his job was right around the corner. And so every morning for a whole school year, it was me and my dad back and forth between Illinois. Like, just we bonded over so much, and that was like my first role model. So
Yeah.
I, if someone told me to reenact him, I could do it to a T. I know my dad so well, so that's my guy, man, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your experience playing ball in college. You didn't start at Central Michigan, or you
No, I started at Missouri State.
at Missouri State? That's right. That's
I
right.
did 2 years at Missouri State. So I played my freshman year. My sophomore year, I got injured with a hamstring injury. And so that kept me out all season.
Mm-hmm.
And, long story short is they didn't bring me back, right? They said they weren't going to give me a scholarship for certain reasons. And they thought I was probably one of the worst guards on their roster, right? So they didn't bring me back. I had to go to a junior college. So I went to Mineral Area College. Man, that in itself was a crazy experience, just going from a place with so many resources, flying to different places. Now I'm in a little bus, you know,
Yeah.
just trying to claw my way back and get a groove. Then I ended up going to Central Michigan, man, and that's where I finished up my last 2 years.
Yeah, and you had a lot of success there. But what was it like making that? Like, what was your mentality like during that time, going from, hey, I'm here on scholarship, oh, I tweaked my hammy, and now all of a sudden I'm literally at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to college athletics?
Man, that was probably one of the toughest times of my life, because I just didn't understand why all of it was happening. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a positive guy, I pray, and then this happens, and then you feel unwanted. Like, I felt unwanted how everything unfolded. And then junior college, man, at that period of time, you think going from a Division I to junior college is like a step down. You know what I'm saying? But you find out that there are ball players everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And that place made me so tough, bro, like with tough skin. And, I've always been a leader, bro, point guard. And there I had to work with so many different personalities. Like, man, it was crazy. It was talented guys, but some had attitudes. I mean, trash talking in practice every day, everybody about to fight. And so it helped me from a leader standpoint, have to deal with everyone and bring everyone together. And I think that's where I really developed great leadership skills.
Yeah.
And that was tough too, man, because when I started playing at my junior college, it had been over a year since I had played an official game because of my hamstring injury.
Yeah.
I started out slow, and it was like, bro, like, what am I doing? This might not be it. I'm about to be done.
Yeah.
And then things started picking up, bro, and everything turned out how it was supposed to.
Yeah. That mentality switch when you're coming back from an injury is tough. I mean, it's all in your head at the end of the day. You kind of have to do what you can and then go out there and let it ride, because when you start getting in your head, I remember the first time I came back from when I had my ACL, and that was actually an AAU game, I think. And I think it was like junior year in high school, AAU game, sitting there, free throw line, I got fouled. My legs were just like chattering, shaking, because I was so nervous to be on the court And after like 5-6 months of rehab, I was just so nervous, but finally settled in. But I mean, that's
mental,
when you're out that long.
It's mental. But bro, it's crazy, man. Cause like I said, I just didn't see how I was gonna get out that situation. But like my years at Central, it is, bro, a lot of success, a lot of opportunity, and there I became, I reached my potential as a basketball player, and that's all you could ever ask for. So, man, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's almost like one of those from the ashes kind of story. Rise up.
I'm telling you, Mason, it's crazy.
So tell us a little bit about Central. So you made that transition, and then Central reached out to you.
Yeah. So I got offered. Central Michigan all happened within a midst of 3 days. So the season was over. I got some offers and interest from a bunch of different schools, and Central came through. The head coach came, Coach Keno Davis came down to my junior college, said, "Hey, we need to get you up for a visit." Bro, I literally went up there the next day up to Michigan, played with some of the players. I knew it was the right place, man. I've transferred already, so I know what I'm looking for within the coaching staff, within the college atmosphere, and the players. And it was perfect. The coach was going to let me rock out.
Yeah.
And from a social standpoint, at that point in my life, man, I felt like I didn't already have my fun at Missouri State. Like I kicked it too hard, probably. So I'm good, man. I'm just go here, play ball, focus on school, and do all that, man. And bro, like I said, coach let me rock out. I'm hitting game winners. I got an MVP of the Alaskan Shootout, which was one of the oldest Thanksgiving tournaments in the country. And that was the last one. What's crazy is I went to that same tournament as a freshman with Missouri State. Barely played. I think we lost in the consolation championship, right? So when I heard I'm going back to Alaska with Central, I'm like, oh my God, here we go. Man, for me to go back there a second time, we win the tournament. I win most outstanding player, bro. That's a full circle moment. You know what I'm saying?
Feels so good.
So good, bro. And it just like I proved to myself. That was the biggest thing, man, through that whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything to prove to anyone. It was to myself that I could do this, man. So highly grateful for my years at Central. It was amazing experience. And I made it home. It's a second home.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were at Central, were you how was the leadership role? Because obviously, like you said, point guard are the leaders, and you are a natural leader. So what was that like getting integrated into that system?
I think it was a good transition, man. We had a good locker room. And my first year there, we had some senior captains too. So, I'm always going to be outspoken and lead by example. But for the most part, let, our seniors handle a lot of the leadership vocally. And on the court, that's where I took over. My senior year, that's when we had a lot of junior transfers come in. So it was easy, man. I moved to the 2 for more scoring, and my guy Larry Austin took over the point guard position.
Hey.
It became a crazy 1-2 punch, bro. And he and I, as seniors of that team, were majority of the vocal leadership and on the court leadership, man. And it was easy, bro. I've never shied away from the leadership position. That comes natural to me.
Yeah, that's kind of full circle too. That Larry ended up there because that's the same circle we ran in. He was tough. He was real tough.
Exactly. It's so crazy, bro. Because growing up, I played against Larry too in middle school, and he's an hour down the road. So it's like, how do we both end up here?
Right.
Man, it's crazy.
So what were you studying this whole time? Did you pick one and stay with it, or was it kind of all over the place?
It was kind of in the same realm of business. At Missouri State, it was entertainment management. And then when I got to Central, I majored in I minored in marketing and majored in I cannot remember right now for some reason, bro.
That shows you how much it matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, let that go. Business. I know, my whole thing was business, man. That's all I wanted to do is I own my own business at some point. Entrepreneurship, duh. Come on, entrepreneurship. That's what I majored in.
Yeah.
Minored in marketing. That's the whole main thing that I want to do, bro. Is own, manage my business, or take over a business. You feel me?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you had that mindset starting out, did you have an idea for what kind of business you wanted to run, or was it kind of just I want to run it, but I don't know what yet?
Well, my dad in the community, man, he started his organization. It's called Treehouse Productions, and so he's done so many things. Whether it started like a male gymnastic team, he did that in St. Louis, early 2000s, through a whole bunch of tournaments, basketball camps. And so I've always grown up watching that, and from my standpoint, it's like, okay, how can we take this business to the next level? And I've always wanted to do something with that brand. And hopefully my goal was at some point get a building and a gym and run so many things through that building under Treehouse Productions, man. That would be my ultimate goal.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that. I think it's definitely got something there. So where did this infatuation with kind of like entertainment, acting, and creative arts and all of this kind of arise out of you playing ball coming up? Was it always there, or was it something
Bro,
that
it
new?
was always there. Like I was that kid in the family that my parents were like at family gatherings, Shawn, get out there and sing, do this, show them this. And I always wanted to entertain. And in middle school, bro, from 6th to 8th grade, I was in plenty of musicals, plenty of plays. Like a lot of people don't know that, man, except for the people down here in Eversville who've seen that.
Right.
That was always me. Um, when high school came, it was a problem with time. So I couldn't do the plays and basketball. It couldn't be a High School Musical, Zac Efron type deal. You feel me?
Yeah.
So I had to put that to the side, man. And I really just focused on basketball. But I'd say, man, my senior year at Central Michigan, we had to do a lot of media. And I had no problem speaking in front of cameras. Like I'm well spoken. So I did a lot of those things, and they gave me like my own show, which was called Roundtree's Roundtable. And
I
so
remember
I had,
watching those. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so check it out, Mace. That was all I had creative control over all that. So I planned who I was going to interview, what I was going to talk to them about, what we were going to do, made it interesting. And so I think that sparked that passion up again. And so it was like, man, what do I want to do? Like, this is what it brought me back to being a little kid, entertaining.
Yeah.
And I struggled, man. I probably, once my senior season ended, I struggled because I was like, I want to get on this acting tip, but I do want to see what I can do on a professional level with basketball. And so, man, I was torn, like, just because I knew I had to put my energy, if I wanted to excel in either one of those, I had to put my energy into one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, acting, entertainment, that's always been me for sure.
Yeah. So let's roll with it where you're at. So you're in this position. You're like, all right, what do I do? I can go play ball overseas. I'm doing that, right? So what was that experience like?
Man, it was so crazy. So I ended up going to Georgia, which is this small country between Turkey and Russia. And I think before I knew where I was going, I didn't go until September, but dude, I was stressing, man, like stressing, because I'm like, yeah, I want to go play professional basketball, but I want to do acting. Like that was the main stressor. And time was going by, and I wasn't getting picked up, or I was close to certain teams picking me up, and then they wouldn't. But the whole experience of going out to Georgia, man, it was very interesting. The people were very embracing, welcoming, which meant a lot. I I had great teammates, great guys, goofy guys, and man, I got a lot of looks and stares,
Yeah.
but it wasn't racial. You know what I'm saying? It was more of interest, like, oh wow, they're curious. They were curious. They don't have black people there. You know what I'm saying? So that was cool. And I just got a chance, man, to really be on my own, you know, not sheltered under a system of the NCAA or anything like that, and really kind of grow up a little bit and figure things out on my own in a whole different culture, language barrier. I had to learn all of that, bro. Like I had got lost trying to get some mail packages.
Yeah. What
It
do they
was
speak? What do they speak over there?
Georgian.
Georgian. Never.
Georgian. They have their own currency too. It's called Georgian Lari. And yeah, bro, I had to grow up over there.
What's the accent like? Is it anything?
I'll try it. So say hello. You say Gama Joba. Gama Joba. And how are you is Ara Priest. Ara Priest.
Digging in the memory banks.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, man. It's interesting, but the younger generation over in Georgia, they're taught English, so they know a lot more versus the older generation. They just, when they hear English, it's over with.
What's the food like?
Oh, the food was so good, bro. The food was so good. They have a lot of bread products. Like they can do a lot of stuff with bread. Um, the chicken was good. Like, oh, it was so good, bro. A lot of homemade stuff,
Yeah.
which I love. You know what I mean? What was crazy, bro? They had pizza at Wendy's. They had pizza at Wendy's.
Was it good?
Fire. It was good, bro. It was so good. And they had these chicken wings at McDonald's. Crazy. Amazing.
It's wild.
Amazing,
That's
bro.
wild.
Crazy.
I'm
Yeah.
always interested in, I mean, obviously diet and those kind of things. I mean, our diet, American diet compared to overseas is just so different in a lot of different ways. Like, I feel like there's a lot less processed and way more natural, a lot more like self-sufficient farming and along those lines because it's just something that's been, carried down, carried down, carried down.
Exactly, man. And that's, though, like Georgia is a very traditional place.
Mm-hmm.
And not a lot of technology. It's a real simple life, real simple living. And I tell people all the time, it's like you see these families who might own or work these little markets, bro, little markets, and they'll be happy. You know what I'm saying? Like being there changed my whole perspective on the US and just what matters, man, because nobody was really tripping over money. Like they were just happy with their families and their traditions, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and that's really eye opening, and it really is like that because everything seems so far away when you're looking at it through a social media lens or through this instant gratification lens that is America and is millennials and is even the older generation too. It's just kind of like instant gratification. I want it now. I want it now. I want food. Grubhub. I want to watch a movie. Don't have to go to the movie. Let me just go to Netflix. Like these kind of things that have sped up and are great technologies, but at the same time, it's like our minds subconsciously getting locked into this now, everything now. Oh, this person has this person has that, and then it's just all your mind. You can never turn your mind off. That's the hardest thing that I've realized lately. You can't turn it off because everything's always, and we're not built. Our brains aren't programmed to take in all this excessive information.
Yeah, bro. You're right. You are completely right, for sure. For sure.
And it's hard because our lives are through our phones. Like they're needed.
Yes.
It's how we live now. It's part of how we operate.
And
But
it's crazy, man. Like social media obviously can provide, certain opportunities. But what I always think about with social media is that how it can change your brain patterns and the way you think, and down to chemicals that it release in your body. You know what I'm saying? And I always think about younger generation. Like, this is all they know. We grew up with things coming out and we had to just, oh, what is this? Okay, let's learn about this. They started out with it. So it's like they're the way they think and what they think is important, how they look, that is embedded in them from birth. So it's like, man, I fear sometimes about their mental and how they're going to be when they get older.
It really is weird to think about that, because we are on the back end of, we're really like young millennials. Like millennials up to like currently 36, 37, I think.
Right.
So it's like we did get to see not being an iPhone. There was not an iPhone. We were running around getting dirty, riding bikes around the neighborhood, not on iPads and doing those. So we kind of had a childhood with that, but then, we're still young when we're starting to get all this. So it's weird to think that we're the last generation that will not grow up always having an iPhone.
But bro, isn't that crazy? Like, to think our generation, us, people our age, we got a chance to see the transition from, I'm not going to say nothing, but technology-wise, not having much, to big, fat computers, you know what I'm saying? Big TVs.
Just why?
Bro, to the iPod and the iPad, all that, dog, like, is crazy. Our generation got a chance to see that.
What's wild is how fast it happened, because it's not even been, it can't even have been 20 years since the iPhone came out or something. I mean, it's not been that long for it to have just sped up that fast, and now it's just evolving just like a snowball.
Dude, it's wild, man. It makes you think, like, damn, what more can they come out with?
What happens in 20 years? That's what I was listening to. I was listening to the podcast with Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, Tesla guy, SpaceX, does all that NASA stuff, and he's a really strange dude, but really, really freakishly smart.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan asked me, he's like, all right, so 25 years from now, like, where do you see technology? And he basically like said, with like AI and all of this stuff, there's going to be like a secondary file of our like brain virtually that, so like, think about it. Think about like a phone. Like a phone already has like our whole life in it. Like if someone wanted to know about you when you're dead and they took your phone and just like started scrolling through your messages, they see all of that, all your pictures, all your experiences, all the stuff on your Facebook page, your Twitter page. You're like, it's already all being logged, like your person, your personality, like everything that you've liked. You can all see all that. You go on Twitter, you can see everything someone liked. So isn't that to think about? All your information is already being like downloaded onto a AI phone.
It's true.
It's wild. I don't know. We got down a rabbit hole there, but that shit's
You did. That's how, hey, it can get deep with all that, bro. It really can.
Yeah. But dude, for me, I've just been realizing how like attached I am to it, and I don't like it. Cause I feel like everyone says, oh, I have ADD. I have ADD. Bro, a phone will give you ADD. Because anytime you're not being stimulated, you think you're supposed to be stimulated. So what do? You reach for your phone. You don't like being in your own head.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I always preach on too. And mainly for me, because I'm like, take time away from it, get in your own space so you can look inside and not always be looking outwards. Right.
Yeah. And that's very true, bro. Like people always feel the need to do something because they don't want to deal with themselves. It's wild, which we forgot, dog. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Like,
bro, yeah.
What?
So, I mean, we might as well throw all this stuff out. I don't want to wear a mask in the gym anymore, or I'm not wearing it at the store. I mean, That is true. I didn't even think about that.
Exactly. There's so much going on, bro, that we forget that we've been on lockdown. What?
Yeah. What was your lockdown situation like? Were you working and then?
Man, it was crazy. Luckily, I came back from Europe, and I got back from Europe about 20 days before everything started shutting down, which was like only God. You know what I'm saying? Because I know a lot of ball players that almost got stuck out wherever they were. And so I come home. I've been here underneath, my parents' house with my younger brother and my cousin. It's like I told somebody it's funny because it's like a second childhood under one roof with your siblings and things like that. So I've been doing that, man. I've been cool. I got my own little spaces where I'm in the basement or just somewhere isolated in the house sometimes when I need alone time, but it's been cool.
Yeah. So I know we kind of went off down a path there, but what was some of the fun experiences like when you were overseas? I'm sure you were able to do some traveling and like see some of that stuff.
Yes, man. I first off, traveling in Europe is so cheap once you're over there.
It is.
I went to London. I got a chance to go to London for a couple of days. New Year's, actually. New Year's. It
How
was crazy. Bro, turned up. I'm in, like, I just, in my head, I just kept saying to myself, like, I'm bringing in 2020 in London. What?
cool. That's cool. That's really cool.
Bro. So it was good, man. And then I flew to Amsterdam right after that. So I had about
Dang.
a whole week where I was traveling, man. And, bro, I have to go back somewhere. If have you been overseas in Europe?
I have. I got to go. So I think it was 2 years ago, two Christmases ago. So not this past one, the one before. I guess it was 2018. We went to Portugal and Spain and Africa, actually, Tangier. So I went. It was super cool. So family trip instead of Christmas, like presents, all that. We didn't get any presents, nothing. We just were like, let's do a trip. So we did a 2-week trip. We did a week in Spain and a week in Portugal, which if you go overseas for like 2 weeks, I mean, that's like, all right, it's worth this long flight coming over, all the planning, everything.
Yes.
So we did a week in South Spain, and then we did a week in Southern Portugal, which they're two totally different vibes. Like Portugal was very countryside, pretty, very quiet. And then Spain, you had city life and the hustle, everything's hustle bustle. But what was cool is we went to the very southern tip of Spain and got on a boat and had an hour and a half boat ride over to Africa, to Tangier, Africa, in the city there. Yeah. So then we got off, and it's a Muslim country, Muslim city. So we get out, we have the tour guide. He's kind of showing us, we're with a group of people walking around, and, like middle of the day, speakers all over the city. Everybody stops and they're praying and like
Man,
stuff. So it was just wild, just walking, and then literally like time stops, everything stops.
man, it going and traveling and seeing people with different customs and different lifestyle, bro. It does something to you, man. Like
Yeah.
there are people all over this world that do different things that it's amazing, dude. It's amazing. I was gonna go to Barcelona next, but I came home.
Yeah, I want to do it more. It really is. It makes you feel small, and it's just cool to see like there's so many different ways of life. There's so many different ways.
Where do you want to go next?
Man, I kind of want to go to Greece.
Oh yes.
Kind of want to go to Greece. Thailand looks kind of cool. My sister just got back from South Korea. She was teaching English there, and kind of similar to you, she had 6 months, like I guess 5 maybe, and then it started getting bad over there because it hit there first. couple weeks go by. She was quarantined for like 2 weeks in her small, tiny little living space, and was just kind of like, all right, I gotta get out because it's just getting too bad. So she got out in time, thankfully, came here, was with my parents, and then just in time before it started getting really bad here and everyone started getting locked down. So she got 2 waves of it really, but
sure, man. I had a friend who was studying abroad in Thailand, like just what you mentioned, man. And I had a chance. She sent me videos and pictures, and it looks so beautiful out there, bro. And you know, the monks and stuff that are out there, just the way of living is just so dope. She wants to go back, man. But yeah, everything got cut short for sure.
yeah, it's wild. This year has been
Horrible.
just off the wall. Like, I feel like I'm living in a movie.
Dog, starting with Kobe. Like I haven't wrapped my head around Kobe, bro. I barely watch Kobe highlights on social media because that shit just it's too sad, bro. And it doesn't seem real. Like Kobe Bryant is supposed to live for so long. It's just crazy.
It really is sad. And I'm sure that you felt even more like, because he was kind of trying to start doing what you were, like your transition with, because he was really trying to get into like movies and like that kind of like avenues. It's just so sad, dude. The whole thing, especially with like obviously his daughter and them being together, and how much you could tell he definitely like was just so in love with the process of being able to see her play. And
Yes.
yeah, it's a tragic thing. It's just a wild accident. It just goes to show you though that, you know, it could happen any day. Really could.
It really can, dude.
Yeah. For those of y'all who didn't hear the podcast that I did with Jason King, who was actually my first guest, he got to spend some time with the Patriots, and Kobe came and spoke to them. And he had told me that they'd never seen a room full of grown ass men be so locked in to one person talking. Like, you know, professional players, like these dudes are the best of the best. And they're just like, whew, tunnel vision, just so focused on everything Kobe was saying.
Dude, I would be too. Did you watch The Last Dance with Mike? Oh, come on, Mace.
Woo. Yeah, that made me like want to go run through a wall.
I'm saying, dude, that documentary was so tough.
Yeah, it was very well done. It was very well. It's Rodman's crazy.
He's a legend.
Dude.
A legend.
Dude, in the middle of it was the finals. This dude said, I got to go to Vegas. I'm done with this shit. I'm going to Vegas. I was like, what?
Bro, and the thing is like Michael Jordan and Phil Jackson, they let him be him. They didn't, you know what I'm saying? Like you would think he'd be mad or, what are you doing? Bro, they just let him do him. Go ahead.
Yeah.
And he delivered whenever he was on the court, bro. He's a legend. And to think like on the other end, Carmen Electra has stories. Like she can tell people that she was in Vegas and Michael Jordan came in the room and demand, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
those, what, bro? Legendary.
He was like, I don't want to say what I saw in that room. I was like, man, that dude is so interesting. He would probably be, man, he's probably top 10 if I could sit. Just, I mean, everything. He's just strange individual too, man. Just out there.
I think a lot of it has to do, because I've seen the Rodman documentary. A lot of it is mental, you know what I'm saying, and his upbringing.
Yeah.
A lot of things that he went through for his identity. You know, I think they say Rodman always searched for a feeling of home. You know what I'm saying? So, but, dude, listen, watching The Last Dance, it really solidified to me, like, yeah, Jordan's the GOAT, bro. Jordan's the GOAT.
Man, it's hard to argue. It's really hard to argue. And I'm a huge LeBron guy. I think it's different for our generation too, because we got to see the whole. We witnessed it all. We're like witness. That's his thing. Literally, my biggest thing with Bron is literally he was literally was on Sports Illustrated at what 16 years old, and it said the chosen one, and this
Yeah.
has lived up to every single bit of it. Has never been in the media for anything negative.
Right.
Is always being an ambassador and a teammate, and that's just a different. I think obviously I think Braun has that, but Kobe and MJ really had that.
Right. It's a different level, bro, of just winner mentality. And LeBron is probably, I would say, the best athlete that we've seen play basketball for sure. And all around, like skilled, athleticism, uh, just all of that, passing abilities, all of that.
Yeah.
And, but dog, just watching Jordan, bro, when they would show his moves, and there's, he's different, dude. It was watching poetry.
Yeah.
And people was like, "Oh well, look who he's doing it on, bro." That doesn't matter, dog. He was knocking down shots. You have to, either way, you have to shoot it, and the ball has to go in.
Dude was floating too. Those were jump shots.
Up there, literally jump shots for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. But dog, yeah, that was a great documentary, and I love LeBron too. I love LeBron. I love him. And one of my friends was like, "Yeah, I can't wait to see what that LeBron documentary look like." I'm like, "Dog, we didn't seen 3 of them."
Yeah, I agree though. He's the best all-around basketball player I think ever. Just as far as size, skill, athleticism, like basketball IQ, longevity, what he's been doing. I mean, just you can't really beat that. But as far as like just that relentless it factor, like I mean, and that's the thing, not Kobe and Michael were not easy teammates. Everyone will tell you that.
Right.
Is the more magic role of like everyone's buddies, like this, that. Like obviously he's a tenacious competitor, but there's just that little fine line. There's that fine line.
It's definitely different. Have I today actually? I just started watching that Lance Armstrong documentary.
I was about to mention that. It's funny you said that. He's another one that has it.
Yes, I just finished. Well, I got to finish the first episode, but yeah, he definitely has it to where he's gonna push you mentally, and he'll talk shit like he will.
The part where they were saying the one guy was like, "Who's this Lance kid? Like he's not that good." Where they were going with the wind at their back, and then he said they turned around and Lance just put into a second gear and like called him a pussy or something.
Yeah. And then like it showed him like interviewing now. He was like, "Well, he's not a pussy. No, he's not a pussy. He was a whiner." You know what I'm saying? I'm like, bro, if he says that now, just imagine the stuff he was saying back then. Like he was reckless for sure.
Yeah, that's a wild story. He's definitely proud of himself, but I mean, all those guys had that mentality. Really, I was just talking about that. He did have, after watching Last Dance and then watching him a little bit, you can tell that he just has that the will to. It's the will to win kind of thing. It's just that fire is just burning.
And it's like comparing it to the Last Dance. It's like I heard Lance say when he be riding, he can tap into somewhere so far from where he's at in the present, and to keep himself motivated, he will make up different rivalries to put him into a different gear. And throughout that whole documentary of The Last Dance, that's what Michael was doing. It's like, dang, these dudes have something in common that just they can do that. You know what I mean? We're just stringing to an extra gear. It's wild.
Yeah, they just need one person to doubt them or say,
yes.
And it's like, don't you messed up saying that. You unleashed the beast.
Yeah, dude. Hey, question.
Yeah.
Because this recently, bro, I've discovered
Okay.
Dots pretzels.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Dots pretzels?
The little swirls.
Yes.
They're sticks. They're the sticks.
Yes.
They're like light brown too.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. They're so good. Yeah.
Bro, crazy, dude. Look, last weekend, someone gave me a let me try it. And like I did like through the pandemic, I've been doing Instacart like every morning. You know what Instacart is?
Huh.
So think of like Uber Eats, but you go pick up people's groceries, deliver it. So I see these Dots pretzels all the time. And I'm like, these basic ass pretzels. Someone let me try it for the first time. I fell in love, bro. I've been eating a bag a day.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good. My dad's side of the family is Pennsylvania Dutch, so he loves pretzels, like the
Yeah,
legit big ones. He would just eat
okay.
all the time. But I've tried those, and those are so good too.
Ridiculous, bro. Ridiculous.
So, what's your training been like? Have you still been training like after ball? Did you take a little time off, or are you still kind of training a little bit?
You know what, bro? It's crazy that you asked because it's not. I told my mom the other day, I still have to get up and do something, work out, keep myself in shape, because that's just what I've been used to, you know. Um, but I don't. It's not like I'm training for something. The way I work out is different. So I'm not like killing myself with legs and going crazy. It's more so to just sustain my body, run a little bit, get my heart rate, push-ups, sit-ups. Because now it's just about when I take my shirt off, it's got to be looking good. You
That's
know what I'm saying?
that's it.
And yeah, bro. So that's it. I'm not worried about like getting big because, dog, I gain muscle mass fast. Like I know that about myself. So I'm not trying to be cock diesel out here.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's it, bro. Just trying to stay healthy.
yeah. No, that's the biggest thing. You feel so much better after you do it too. Like,
Yeah.
especially if anything, for me at least, it's kind of like therapy. Like anything weighing on me,
Yeah.
I'm kind of stressed out or something. I just go in the gym, just lose myself for an hour, get it in, walk out feeling way better.
Way better. How has your transition been after football?
It's been good, man. I kind of went through a similar situation as you where I was kind of like having to rebrand myself almost like had to have that moment because I had a quick transition. I was blessed to be able to jump right into a job. So all my focus and attention went from ball, boom, switch that over. Let's focus on this job and, training and kind of getting into the rhythm of, all right, let's get back into a routine, but not with football anymore with this job. And then after the first year, I kind of had like at the beginning of 2020, before all this crazy stuff started happening, like it was reaching December, coming into January, and I realized that I hadn't done any like New Year's resolutions or anything. I was just like, man, like this was one of those moments. Like, look yourself in the mirror. Like,
Yeah.
who am I going to be? What am I going to do? What kind of difference am I going to have? And I was just like, I have all these ideas, all these things that I think about constantly, business ideas or stuff like that. But I haven't been putting anything into action. So the whole year I said, all right, the whole year, my whole thing for 2020 was stop talking, start doing, and that's how the podcast was birthed. I originally had that idea back later in 2019, but was still just kind of sitting on it and thinking about it. And then I just started just doing. So that was part of it, man. And it was just the whole thing that I realized that when I help people and when I focus on other people, it makes me feel better because I'm serving instead of like feeding my ego, which, as ball players, we can feed our ego easily. You were a stud in high school. I played good ball in high school. We went into college, big man on campus, whatever that may be. And I just felt like I need to stop feeding the ego and start giving to other people. And that made the biggest difference for me.
Yeah, man. It feels rewarding, bro. Like, and you're doing a good job, man. I love what you're doing, and I'm loving that you tapped into this side of your creativity. And I think because you're a creator, bro. With this podcast, you are a creator, and when I was over there in Georgia, man, I had a lot of down moments mentally because it's like, is this what I want to do? Like, I can continue to do this. I can continue to each year get myself into a better contract, bigger league. I can do that. But am I going to be happy? And got to a point where, okay, let me do something. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying I want to do this. I don't know where to start. So let me try something. So started my YouTube channel, started putting out monologues and skits and stuff like that. And I think you'll probably contest to this as well, is once you start putting out your content, bro, it doesn't scare you anymore. The biggest part is putting yourself out there. And once you do that, you feel like you can conquer anything. You know what I mean? You're not worried about what people are going to say about what you put out. You're just going to do it. And I think that feeling of freedom and confidence, bro, it means everything when you're creating.
Right. And that's the biggest step, I feel like, for anyone, that it's just not caring about what people think for the most part. Like just being yourself and being comfortable in that, and then realizing that you aren't going to please everybody. Like everything you do, you're not going to please everybody. And if you try and live your life that way, you're going to be miserable because you're always going to be let down.
Exactly, dude. Exactly, bro. You got it, man. Keep going with it. I'm locked in now. Keep going, bro.
No, yeah, man. It all came back to the thing for me too, is when I started it, I listened to this guy that I listened to, this podcast I'd listened to prior, and he literally did one show on how, if you're going to start a podcast, here's what you should do. And he like prefaced with, you shouldn't do it. He was like, if you don't want to do it for 2 years and not have many listeners and have a lot of lulls, and you're not going to be consistent, and you're so focused on how many people listen and this. And then from there, I just took the whole thing of, hey, if it helps one person, then I did my job. Like my whole thing was, I'm trying to help people. Okay, well, if one person listened to this or saw this or heard this and they took something away from it, then you did what you're supposed to do.
That's right, bro. You
Shout
got
out to family. We've had consistent listeners since we started it, and it's been doing well and growing. So, man, blessed to be in the position,
Proud of you, bro. For real. I'm proud of. I'm gonna start marketing it now too. You know what I'm saying? I got you.
Push. That's the other thing too that's been cool, is being able to put on people that one, and then two, be able to kind of like build a brand from the ground up and be able to push to other people. Because there's comes a point in time where it's like, hey, we're on week 14, 15, 16, we're coming up. I don't have all these people that I know or that are acquaintances like you and I that I can just reach out to that would have good enough stuff to talk about. Right. So like reaching out to random people, this person sending emails, a bunch of emails, getting denied here, denied that, this person. So it's a whole process of, like you said, entrepreneurship, building a brand, and then having a message.
Man, it completely is. And I understand that aspect of reaching out because, with now the lane that I'm in, it's like, okay, now I need to get myself out there. I have to showcase my talent. I have to email directors and producers and try to get them to look at my resume or my video reel and things like that, bro. And it's like, man, I need some people to respond. And some people have, but that grind of trying to get your brand and yourself out there, it's going to be a wonderful story for when it does happen, because you're going to remember these days, bro. And it's just like, hey, it's on now.
Yeah, it's consistency, man. And it is really about being consistent, because eventually someone is going to hear it that, is supposed to hear it.
It's supposed to
and it's going to go the right way. And then being consistent, man, just word of mouth. People are hearing it. You're doing good stuff. And then you consistently putting out good content, obviously, and I look at your page and see that you're doing that too. So let's go back to that a little bit. Like, tell us about, what people will find on Tree 2, the number 2 round on Instagram. And then on YouTube, you can find him SHAWN round, just like it sounds, Tree. Jr. on YouTube. That's his channel. So what can people see on your stuff?
So, man, I try to look at myself as like my own network, right? So I can do a lot of different things, bro. I sing, you know what I mean? I can hold a note, acting. So you're gonna see skits, comedy skits, but you're also gonna see monologues where it's more serious, where you're paying attention to the craft of the acting. Um, for YouTube, I have this series. It's called "Let Me Get the Aux." So it's like me and someone else. We're going back and forth, kind of like a music battle war, and just a lot of different topics, bro. I try to cover so many different things, dude, because I feel like myself, I have to begin displaying many different talents. And like you said, at some point, you know, the right person's going to see. So that's what you'll see, man. And a lot of positivity. I'm a positive guy, and you'll always hear me say, be great.
Yeah.
Like that's my thing. Be great. You know what I mean? And I think I say be great because I think if people focus on trying to become their best self every day and impacting people, then that's being great, man. They're going to maximize their potential as a human being. So a lot of positivity, bro, skits, monologues, all that stuff. Go check it out.
Yeah.
I'm releasing a monologue tonight in about 30 minutes to be exact. So and when you listen to this, go to the page and go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, I've checked a lot of your stuff out. I've been following from afar for, like you said, since back in Central Michigan when you were doing the Roundtree, the round table.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to watch, and you definitely talented. Obviously, always trying to perfect the craft. But dude, the monologues, the skits, funny stuff, it's good. Y'all definitely got to go check that out.
I got one for you, Mace. I got a monologue for you. You asked for one, I got one. I had to go into the memory bank. You know what I'm saying? I think I can perform it.
All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, bet. Let's go. Let me move the chair to get my stage right.
All right.
Can you see me? Let me see. Can you see me?
Yeah. We're good. We're ready.
All right. All right. Tell me something. Who cares? Huh? I give and I give and I give. Is it not only human to want that for myself? I take time to make sure everybody's on point, feeling good, smiling. Who's going to make sure my day is going well? That I'm feeling good? Who's going to let me know that they've been thinking about me? Who cares? I've got pain. I deal with shit too. But if I were to stop everything that I do, now I'm tripping. Or I'm acting different. Who cares? End scene.
Yeah. Man, love it. Talented. I'm telling you, talented. I was locked in. I was locked in. That's what I know because I'm locked in. Like there was when you're going, I was locked in. That's all I need to know.
I appreciate it, bro.
Good stuff. So did you write that one?
That one I wrote, yeah. That one I wrote, bro.
So awesome. That makes it even better, honestly, because it's pure creation. And you can tell it means something, especially when it comes from you. I mean, that's what's up.
It's definitely more personable when you write it. And when I started doing these skits and monologues, I kind of feared writing my own stuff. Just because I was like, man, I'm not good at writing. I don't know what to come up with. But I started just pulling from personal experience and personal feelings. and it made it much easier.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with you too is you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And that is hard to do.
Uh,
It's just hard to do in general. But when you do that, that's when your best work comes out. And that's when people can see the passion that's behind it.
Mason, bro, you hit it on the head, dude. It's like I've never been, and I'm still working on it, man. I've never been the most vulnerable guy. Like I've always learned to take what I'm feeling, compartmentalize it, put it over here, and don't let it show. Like I'm really good at that, man. But the past 7 months, I've really been telling myself to feel those emotions, whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes out in your work, it's like, I think it goes back to once you do it once, you're able to do it again and again, and you feel confident in saying, hey, it's okay. Like, it's all right.
Yeah, exactly. I love that because I feel like especially men and, men our age too, trying to grow into their identity, trying to find out who we want to be, what we want to do, all of these different variables, living on your own for the first time and taking care of yourself and all these things. There's a lot of masks that we can wear, whether or not we're conscious that we're wearing them, whatever it may be, whether it be money, girls, like partying, all these things, all those masks I've worn personally. So it's just like, it's like you got to take them off at some point. You got to take it off. You can keep putting it, you got to take it off at some point. And that's when you really feel freedom, which is what we talked about. That's when
you are completely right. You know what you are talking about, Mason. Everything you just said, bro, for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. I love to see it because it makes and people listening would love to see it and relate to it too, because it's not something that just me or just you go through. Like this is something everybody goes through, guys, girls, all ages. So, I mean, it's just something that, like you said, like we said at the beginning, something that you have to talk about and try and shed light on and realize that, look, we're still working on it. Like you said, you're still working on it, I'm still working on it, but we're here and we're being active about trying to get better. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely, Mace. I completely agree, bro.
Yeah, man. So one more time, tell everybody where they can find you. I got one more question for you after that.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram at Tree2Round. No, Tree Round. Yeah. Right, Mace?
2 with the letter 2 or number 2.
Okay, so yeah, Snapchat is Tree Round. Okay, but also on Twitter, you can find me at Tree2Round as well. My last Twitter got hacked, so it's crazy. But yeah, I started over.
Yeah.
I needed a new start anyway, so Tree2Round on Instagram and Twitter, and you can look up my YouTube page at Shawn Roundtree Jr.
Beautiful. All right, last question for you, and I love asking this question to everybody because it varies, and I love the answers that we get. But what is your definition of success?
Man, that definition gets so clouded all the time, man.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, success is really, I don't think it's anything materialistic. I don't think it has to do anything with money. I think when you find yourself in a place of being happy, not necessarily content or comfortable, but just happy with what you're doing. You're waking up feeling happy about what you're doing, and you have something to look forward to that is beneficial to you and to others as well. I think you found success.
Yeah, right on. I love it. I love it, man. And Shawn, thank you so much for coming on. We got a lot of good stuff. We went all over the place today. I love it. That's perfect. That's my ideal episode when people come on here, just talk like we're talking, catching up.
Bro, much needed, man. With all the crazy stuff that's going on, bro. This has really been good, and you're doing a good job.
Yeah, and this is going to come out on Wednesday. I think, like we talked about earlier, what we talked about at the beginning, it needs to be talked about. Light needs to be shed. But at the same time, man, I want people to be able to come on here and just get a little bit of an escape from everything. Just, clear their minds a little bit, laugh a little bit. So I think we checked the boxes.
We did, bro. Thanks, man.
Yep. Thank you, Breathing Air family, for tuning in to another episode. You can find us on Instagram at Breathing Air Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, Mason Bendigo. I post a lot of stuff on there. Snapchat is Mason_Bendigo, always posting updates on there as well. So thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode.